there, hello there. Welcome in, and thanks so much for spending some time with us. We're ready to go again with three guys before the game. Episode number 524, the title, Stillwater Showdown. I did not run this by the senator before we started. You all right with it?
Fine.
Huh?
That's fine.
Just fine.
That's fine.
I mean, it is, right?
Fine.
It's not noon, but it's at 2 o'clock Eastern. But like the old West days.
Showdown's always at noon?
Always. Showdown.
As soon as it reached high noon. Usually said high noon, didn't they?
Right, high noon.
High noon's a phrase that doesn't get used enough probably anymore. Have you used high noon recently?
But I like it a lot. I'm going to start doing that. High noon. When do you want to get together for lunch? High noon. So it's 2 o'clock in the east, but it will be noon for our friends in the Big 12 in the Mountain Time Zone, right? So it will be a high noon shootout for those in that small space there in that mountain, very underused Mountain Time Zone. Used to use it more years ago. They don't even refer to it as much.
It
right?
is under-referred to.
Under-referred to. Now they just go east and west. 60 minutes to follow in its entirety.
Or just central if you're the Big 12. I mean, everything's underused.
Yeah. Anyway, it's West Virginia and Oklahoma State, 2 p.m. Eastern start time, as the Mountaineers try to get back and onto the winning side. So something's going to happen, right? West Virginia is either going to get its first road win, or Oklahoma State is going to get its first league win. Mm-hmm. One way or the other. Something. That's why it's a showdown.
Fitting for a high noon showdown.
Exactly right. Loser leaves town.
Yeah.
I don't know if Oklahoma State's next game is a road game, but the loser might have to leave town. We'll find out. Three guys brought to us by Comax Business Systems, keeping West Virginia's business data safe, secure, and efficient for 25 years, and they do that with their remote monitoring services of your IT. They just keep you safe. You're a business owner. The last thing you ever want is for all of your data to be stolen. They use like fancy words when someone gets their stuff stolen. It may have been a compromise. That's a fancy way of saying like, oh, blank. Comax Business Systems can do your remote monitoring of all of your IT. You can come in and do a complete review of where you stand right now. Are you safe enough? That's what they do. Plus, obviously, the complete line from A to Z of business office equipment. You can visit them. They've been doing it for over 25 years at ComaxWV.com. That's ComaxWV.com. Three guys also brought to us by GoMart. Go for good times. Go for GoMart. Get that rewards card. Put that piece of plastic in your pocket. And every time you go in, you rack up rewards points, and then you save on your fuel and you save on your food. Three guys also brought to us. By the way, today's a pontoon day.
Oh, today
Took my jacket off. I left my jacket in the car.
Didn't need it.
Did not need it. Here I am, 25 January.
I keep saying boating days are coming.
Today's just another indication that it won't be long before the folks at Lou Wendell Marine Sales put their boats down into the water again for those of you that pull them up. I like when I drive around sometimes, you see those pontoon boats, they wrap them up in plastic for the winter. You ever seen that?
Yeah, winterize them. Keep them safe.
I mean, they just like a big, huge...
Like cellophane all over them almost.
Yeah, that was probably a good gig. Seasonal.
To wrap them?
Right, yeah. Lou Wendell Marine Sales currently
It's more
offering...
fun when that cellophane comes off, though.
Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah. And that's coming soon.
Before you know it.
They sell the Avalon Pontoon Boat Series, and right now they've got that unbelievable Three Guys Special, which is just off the Wally Wagon chart. That is the... super special, the Avalon 2385. Check it out, the Entertainer. You can do everything you ever wanted to do on the water in that bad boy. I did say last episode you can't break ice. Like there's those ice clippers that cut through Lake Erie.
It doesn't do that.
It will not break through the ice. But it could open.
But in regular water, you're good.
If it's regular water,
fish,
doesn't matter.
Hunt,
entertain,
ski.
Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans. They do sell family fun. Visit Lou Wendell Marine Sales at LouWendellMarineSales.com.
Jump off the side deck there into the water. Cannonball right off.
Coming up in just a little
bit.
Tie
one of those swim mats off the back to the ladder there. Your kids can run on the swim mats.
Right on there. Closest thing to walking on water.
Pretty fun.
Three guys also coming up in a bit. Spreads on Stats. That is brought to us by the unbelievable fine folks at the Conley CPA Group. They provide value beyond the numbers. More on them later.
You talked to them this week. Shot clock winding down, but they're still not worried about that. They've still got time to set their offense up. They're not worried.
No, I talked to Mike earlier this week over at Conley CPA, and while most CPAs and accountants this time of year, you can see they get blotchy skin, they get hives, they get nervous, they bite their nails. Conley CPA Group's like, yeah, we got it. It's just another year for us. April 15th, we got it. Your taxes will be filed. Everything's good. So that's what
like
they do.
They wouldn't even do the little thing where you throw the ball in and you let it roll to preserve the shot clock. They wouldn't even do that yet. They just get the ball and go across half court.
They don't need no extensions. Mm-hmm. They need no extensions. Like Conley CPA Group, everyone else is getting nervous and jittery. They go like, this is what we do, right? You know, I attended some speeches yesterday for WVU football players.
Oh, yeah? Is that for a class?
Yeah, for the Chambers Business Elite. These are the kids that are going to go to Europe this summer as part of that unbelievable program. So I listened in on 14 speeches, and I think it was Austin Brinkman, and I hate if I'm wrong, but they were talking about pressure. And he said this. Did I give you the line?
No.
He said, how do you handle the pressure? And he said, pressure is a privilege. Ooh. How about framing it up that way? Pressure is a privilege. Train your mind that way. Pressure is a privilege. Like most people run away from the ball, right?
Mm-hmm.
Down two, you need a 3. And they run, and the coach diagrams the play and says, Brad, we're going to throw it to you. And it's a different Brad. And because I know you would shoot it. But a different Brad. There's a lot that don't want that ball. They just want to set the ghost screen over on the far side or the pretend screen over there to try to get. They don't want that ball because the pressure's on. But he said, pressure is a privilege. Bring it.
How were the young men?
Mind blowing.
Really
and
good.
As you know, I may be a little tough critic in that kind of a scenario.
You're very tough. Yeah, not a little bit. Very tough.
Very tough critic. And I thought they were phenomenal.
How about that?
Incredibly impressed by those guys. They were fantastic. So you get up, you present, say, this is who I am, this is what I study, this is what I do, and this is my long-range goal. And that's it, about 30, 40 seconds. And then there were Jim Hoyer, right, the great military guy here in West Virginia, and Julian Miller, former Mountaineer footballer, John Antonick, author, curator, myself, and the signal caller, Jed Drenning. And then it became a press conference. And we would hit them with questions. Anything, like A to Z. Didn't matter. Didn't have to be sports, just life, everything. And then they get to ask you one question when that's done, and then you critique them.
You had a bunch of playmakers there, too. It wasn't just guys on the roster. Sean Martin was there. Garrett Green was there.
Yeah. Well, Garrett was just watching.
He didn't deliver.
He was there last year.
Okay.
Yeah, he was just there
Nico
did a great job. They all, like I said,
Sean Martin, you mentioned.
Sean Martin, Nico, Leighton Bechtel,
you said was. Now, he counts in the playmaker category, not just a good holder. Had a massive play there late.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
He's a playmaker.
Michael Hayes, who had a great year. Austin Brinkman. Defensive guys. At Tara Simmons, we had Avery Wilcox, and I don't have the list in front of me right now, but just a bunch of Sean was really good. C.J. Cole, the receiver. Jarrell Williams, just a bunch of good guys.
Yeah, good.
Anyway, that was good. So my point to all that is pressure is a privilege. There's your lesson for the day. All right, let's jump in here. The world champion Mountaineers did not do well. How's it saying? Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Fair assessment. Didn't
go well.
Didn't go well at all at UCF. We all know the outcome. We saw it happen. We'll get into that. And we also look ahead to the matchup here, the one and only matchup. This is not a return, just a one and done with OSU. All right, what's your takeaway from UCF?
Well, as we often say, that as you get deeper into the season, the numbers should become more reliable. Can we attack this from a number standpoint? Because I think it speaks to what didn't go well for WVU. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't have to be you don't need the jingle here. Although I'm going to give you a bunch of numbers. You don't need it.
All right.
Ready?
Yeah.
So one of the things we talked about on Thursday show, is Thursday show? Is that when we did it last Monday show?
No, we did it Monday
I don't know what
early.
day it was. Okay, we said watch the free throw line. That was going to help determine the game, and the reason was UCF was number 2 in the league in free throw rate. West Virginia was number 1. Free throw rate, the amount of times you get to the free throw line. Well, what happened in that game? West Virginia comes out minus 15 points at the line. It tied West Virginia's lowest free throw rate of the season, and I'll get back to why that happened here in a second. But that was a major difference, Tony. We could stop right there. That's ball game. You're minus 15 at the line. And we've seen it the other way at times for West Virginia that has lived at the line over the last 5 or 6 years. But that was one that was totally in favor of the Knights, and it did West Virginia in from the very beginning. One of the other parts of the scouting report, we said you're likely going to have trouble getting to the rim on this team and their length. And man, their length was impressive. Multiple 7-footers on that team. Probably going to struggle to get to the rim, and they're going to force you to take some threes. Well, that's exactly what happened. West Virginia's three-point attempt rate came out at 48%. So 48% of the shots West Virginia took from the field were threes. Now, they had a nice day. They made some, 11. Third most all season, 39%. So most nights you'll take that, but the absence of being able to get any other shots, including at the basket, that's part of why you were minus 15 points at the free throw line. You didn't have the ability to get in there. UCF did. They took it right at you. All right, here's another one that I found interesting. We talked about guarded shots. We've been talking about that every episode. We said UCF gives up a lot of unguarded shots. In fact, 4th in the league in most unguarded jump shots given up, but opponents were just 11th in scoring percentage against those. Remember, I hypothesized that there was some regression to the mean coming there, that those numbers should align more evenly than fourth most open shots against 11th success. Teams were going to start hitting open shots against them. You just wondered when that would happen. Let's look at the numbers and see how that turned out. West Virginia had 6 unguarded jump shots. That's the most they've had in Big 12 play so far.
Wow.
So it's not a ton by itself, but it is the most they've had in Big 12 play. 15 points off those 6 unguarded jumpers, second most on the season, and a whopping 2.5 points per possession.
Because the max would have been 18.
Yeah. And they got 15 out of those. So that's really effective. So that part worked. You got those looks and you knocked them down. Here's the other part. They did a nice job on the 16 guarded jumpers they got. They got 18 points on those shots, third most on the season in terms of overall points. So the making of shots, and I'll come back to this in a minute, the making of shots was there. You just didn't do enough stuff. On the other hand, free throws. Let's talk offensive rebounding. We said UCF is very good on the offensive glass. They got West Virginia in that category as well. +5 in offensive rebounds, +6 points when it came to second chance points. Points off turnovers. West Virginia struggled in this area, -12. So almost every category you go down, it just did not turn out well for West Virginia. And basically, UCF succeeded in getting the Mountaineers to play how they wanted to play.
Right.
Physical, tough. UCF getting to the basket, West Virginia having to settle for threes. It was the style that UCF want, and West Virginia was really never in that game.
Correct. And you come out of that, and a couple of lessons. One is that they're not going to give you the benefit of the doubt in contact, and if you complain, it's going to come back to bite you, and it did for West Virginia. So the frustration built, and then obviously and ultimately, with just over 10 minutes to go, Raekwon Battle gets the double T, and he's off. They're not going to change that once you go. So if you beg for fouls, and I was just reading something this morning, an NBA coach basically was saying the same thing, that if you squawk and if you complain, they're not going to change, and only by human nature are officials just going to remember it.
Yeah.
And they're either not going to give you a call or they're going to punish you for squawking. And it might not be in that half, it might be a half later, or it might be the next time they see you. You set that stage, they're going to come get you.
Well, Central Florida took advantage of that. I thought they were
UCF.
What did I say?
Central Florida.
Central Florida really took advantage of that. They were the way more physical team.
They asked to be called, if it's in their game notes, please refer to us as UCF and not Golden Knights. I mean, be respectful.
I said Knights earlier.
UCF.
I mean, you were, in fact, in Central Florida, were you not?
We were located there, near Orlando.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. UCF.
Yeah, Central Florida. University of Central Florida is what it stands for, right? Or do I have that wrong?
They would go UCF. They'd like that.
Yeah, it does stand for University of Central Florida. Okay.
Correct.
Thank you. West Virginia just 5 of 14 at the rim. You went from the game before the best success you'd had at pick and roll with the pick and roll man against Kansas to not getting any points out of that. And I thought you saw that. Pat, in particular, got some shots that were close to the basket, but you had to alter them. Those Central Florida UCF guys did enough to alter a shot from him, from a Farrakhan getting in there. And it doesn't take a whole lot, right? You're trying to shoot over a 7-foot guy with his arm up. It's going to change your perspective and your view a little bit. And West Virginia just couldn't get any of those close shots to fall. So that and free throws were really the big difference in the game.
West Virginia was 10 of 30 on 2-point attempts. Mm-hmm. That's 1 of 3. That's 33%.
Yeah.
From 3 for the game, they finished 39%. Mm-hmm. So they shot better from 3 than they did from 2. But to your point, how many times, if you go back and watch that tape, did Pat Sumnick specifically, but others, have to alter their shot because of just the huge size, right? You got Diallo, who's a legitimate 7-foot dude, and then you had a 6'10" and you had a 6'11", and they just altered West Virginia.
That's what they do. That's why we talked about on Monday. You're going to have to make threes, which West Virginia did, but nothing came with that. That's what they want. They want you to either stand out there and shoot threes and they'll take their chances, or invite you to come all the way into the lane and they're just going to alter shots. If you look on the season at their defensive shot chart, the percentage of field goal attempts against them, the 3-point area is the red, and red means there's a lot of them, and the blue means there's not. At the rim, it's blue. And around there, in the mid-range is blue. They say, come on in with it if you want to come in. Otherwise, stand out there and shoot threes, see if you can beat us.
Mm-hmm. They return, if I'm correct, February 20 here in Morgantown. You going to that one?
I'll be there.
You going to that one? Okay, that's cool. So that wasn't even spreads on stats. That was like pregame warm-ups for spreads on stats?
That's an appetizer.
Yeah. So we'll get into more of that. We got more. We got more coming into, because I know the Jesse Edwards question will come up, and we'll talk about that in detail. But first. So
I checked the numbers. We'll just go right to the numbers. Here comes a heater.
Let's jump into the analytics portion. Now we jump into the preview of the Stillwater Showdown, as some are calling it. Brought to us by the Conley's CPA Group, providing value beyond the numbers. They provide to you complete public accounting services and consultation. Been in business here in the state of West Virginia since 1985. That's a pretty long time.
What year?
85. Mm-hmm. It's only coming up on 40 years. Freaked myself out earlier today. Come Sail Away from Styx was playing. Did the math on that one. That's 47 years old.
Come Sail Away is almost 50 years old.
47 years old. Now, I went 47 years old.
So again, as we often do the math on that. So when you would have been 10, if someone would have said, "Hey, why don't you listen to a song from 50 years ago?"
1922. Good
so you probably wouldn't have listened to it?
Good Lord. What's going on? And this might be me just trying to make myself not feel old. But I think a lot of younger kids, they do still listen to those kind of songs. I think they respect Come Sail Away. You don't think?
I don't know about that.
Well, not your girls, but I mean, you remember when we used to have Taylor here? Kid that used to work over on the...
No. I don't. Long time. Was that before I started?
No, he was here. Huh. But he listens to that music. He listens to 70s music, and he's...
I'm not sure that's your barometer. All due respect, of course.
Or maybe I'm off on that. Maybe our listeners can let us know. You guys let us know if you think what they consider to be the classic rock of the 70s, like Journey, Foreigner, Styx, my boys up in Canada. Geddy Lee. Supertramp. Austin just yelled through.
Gave a Supertramp there.
I didn't know if he went Supertramp or Anne Murray. All right. What do we got on the Stillwater
All right,
boys?
Here we go. I think this is really fascinating solely because of what you said the other day. Which of these teams shows up? West Virginia looking for its first road win of the season, or Oklahoma State saying, "Are you kidding me? We haven't won a game in the league here. We got a chance to win one at home. I would bet, in my younger days, I might have said, well, maybe Oklahoma State's ready to lay down here, and maybe they won't want to play. I've gone the other way. I think you get a top-shelf Oklahoma State effort here, effort-wise. I don't know what the results will be. I think they come out ready to play. They think this is their chance to get a win.
Yeah.
Agree or disagree?
I don't disagree with you because, again, they were up, dude. Like 15, 16, 17 points
on
against TCU.
They led a majority of that game and looked good doing it. Yeah,
they
I watched
did.
all of it.
So I think they look at it and go like, hey, guess what? That's TCU. West Virginia, we can get these guys. Let's bring it.
Here's the question, though. What do you get from Oklahoma State? Let's talk about what they've been so far this season. They have decent defensive numbers overall, but not in the Big 12. They have struggled there in the Big 12 defensively. They turn it over a lot, bottom 60 team nationally. They don't get many steals, bottom 8 team nationally. So stop right there. That should bode well for West Virginia. Teams that don't get a lot of steals, you should be able to run your stuff against them. So if that holds, West Virginia should have some success offensively. They don't hit the offensive glass very well. 200th overall nationally out of 362. But they keep you off it, 36th in defensive rebounding. So once again, offensive rebounding becomes a key. This is a team West Virginia should be able to get a few against. We'll address the Jesse Edwards thing coming up, but if you have him for a few minutes, can he get you a couple? Can Pat Sumnick get some? Is Josiah Harris, has he earned some more minutes based on what he did against UCF? He's been a good offensive rebounder. Watch the offensive glass. Can you get in there against this team? And don't give them up on the other end. They do not get to the free throw line much, the Cowboys, and they don't shoot it well when they get there. They're a bottom 50 team nationally in free throw percentage, but they don't put you on the line very often either. Now, that makes some sense, right? Generally, if you're not a great defensive team, you're probably not going to get called for a lot of fouls either. Now, in Big 12 play, they've been better getting there themselves, so watch the free throw line again. They haven't been going to the rim very much. Cowboys are well below the national average, just 24% of their shots coming at the rim.
Right.
Okay. Also bodes well for West Virginia. But watch this. We know West Virginia has struggled at times against teams that don't normally go to the rim, that looks at West Virginia's defense and says,
we're going to the rim.
I think we can get to the rim on you. So that'll determine, watch this game early. If Oklahoma State's spreading and driving hard at the rim, that tells you they think they can get there against West Virginia's defense. If they're not and doing what they normally do, that bodes well for WVU. So watch that part of the game. I think you'll get an early indication on that. This is, and I've started saying it this way a bunch this year, this is a make shots game for Oklahoma State. Here's why I say that. Spot-up jumpers are by far the most frequent offensive set for them, and it's the thing they do best. So spot up from a jump shot, knock it down. So if they don't do that, you got a real chance to get on top of them. They have elite shooters when they're left unguarded, which is about 50% of the time. West Virginia has struggled at times in leaving shooters open. Don't do that on Saturday. If you do, and the numbers hold, they're going to make you pay for that. They're very good when they're left unattended.
And because they do not have a philosophy or a great desire to score in the paint, that may allow West Virginia's defenders to play more honestly instead of trying to come in and help. Agreed?
Agreed. And then again, and I know if he plays, it's probably not going to be 35 minutes, but Jesse Edwards' mere presence in the paint will deter, hopefully, some of that driving to the basket. But this is just a make-miss shot game for Oklahoma State. That's what they do. West Virginia's got to at least guard them and make them hit some difficult shots. They've only had 2 times all season have the Cowboys when they've had pick-and-roll success. The game against TCU was one of them. They got 14 points out of their ball handler in the pick-and-roll. So let's see if they want to put West Virginia in that situation. They did it against Baylor, too. Otherwise, they have not had success at the pick-and-roll. Let's flip over to defense for a second for the Cowboys. Teams have had success with straight-on threes from the top of the key. Teams are shooting about 39% from that particular spot, so watch that on Saturday. Top of the key from 3. West Virginia should be able to get some shots from that. Here's a key. They leave you open almost 50% of the time on catch and shoots.
Excuse me?
They leave you open nearly 50% of the time on catch and shoots, and teams are shooting 43% from 3 when they're left open. So this is almost the reverse of UCF. You wonder why they haven't won close games or they haven't won a Big 12 game yet? I would point right to that. teams are making open shots against them. Teams in this league leave you open a lot, right? That happens. But teams against Oklahoma State happen to be making those shots. West Virginia needs to make sure there's not regression in that area and that they miss a bunch. So if they're going to get half their looks as open shots, you got to make Oklahoma State pay for that. Mm-hmm. That may be something that we haven't seen from West Virginia's opponents this year. Most of their shots are guarded. And in West Virginia's wins, they have made the contested shots. They should get some open looks on Saturday.
Yeah. That's pretty good numbers.
I'm not done.
But wait, there's more?
Just had to take a breath. We're not done.
Wait a second. In that case, let me just give you a little bit of this then. Just give you a little bit. All right. That's kind of a reset.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I can go? Because I've got two here, including one that's kind of a special late January bonus that we've uncovered some stuff. So here's one to watch this as well. Big 12 teams have been getting to the rim against Oklahoma State. So normally we talk about that from a defensive perspective. The 5 highest point totals on the season at the rim against Oklahoma State have come in their 6 Big 12 games. So basically every Big 12 opponent is driving right at them and going at the rim.
How do you spell Noah Farrakhan?
Exactly. He's got to have a game, and it's 2 parts. This is back to put them in the pick and roll and say, go ahead, best of luck staying in front of Farrakhan. And if you want to jump over and hedge on him, now Pat Sumnick may be in line for some more points. Maybe a Jesse Edwards basket or 2 if he's in. Maybe Quinn Slazinski becomes the roll man. He's been effective at times. Is that going to be a key set this Saturday?
I would say, yeah.
Attack them at the rim. Don't you
like
get attacked?
When you're watching the game Saturday, you think you could put like a halftime update up on successive pick and roll?
I don't know if it'll...
You do any in-game?
Occasionally at halftime, I'll put out thoughts on what we've seen.
What platform are you using?
That would be Twitter, X.
X.
Yeah.
What's your
at
handle?
Brad Howe 07.
E at the end of Howe?
E. No L's. HOWE.
Right.
Yeah.
07?
Yeah.
Is that like James Bond?
Well, just Brad Howe was taken. I wasn't an early adopter.
No, you weren't. No, you weren't. You used to shame people, from what I understand about being on Twitter.
Well, not people, just you.
That's right.
You're right.
That
was a win for you.
Wish I had those conversations taped.
That was a win.
What are you doing on that stupid thing? Yeah, people care what you ate for dinner.
Well, that's all you were doing at the time. It's turned into a thing.
So a Farrakhan going to the rim might be a key stat to watch.
I like that. Battle, too, and I know he oftentimes pulls, but I'd like to see Battle put it on the floor and get in there as well. See if he can get all the way to the rim. He wants to flush a couple.
Yeah.
So challenge them at the rim, I think is what I'm saying here.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that comes in the form of a pick and roll, whether that comes in the form of an isolation clear out, whether that comes in the form of a 2-man game, isolate and go in this one.
How Raekwon plays will be extremely interesting, I think, for all Mountaineer fans. I'm very interested to see how he responds after, obviously, an out-of-character performance by him, and he feels badly about it. So how does he respond? And I really do think you could make a really super strong case, despite what the numbers show, is this game is about 90% above the years as anything else. Like, which team is just absolutely at wit's end with not winning? For West Virginia, not winning on the road. And for Oklahoma State, just not winning in the league yet. This is a mental game. This is just an absolute blue-collar punch fest. Who's going to come out of here?
Given what their crowd looked like against TCU, I think you should be able to walk in what probably will not be the most hostile environment you face this year.
It'll be the least.
Yeah, I can't imagine there's going to be a ton of fans in there for this one. So take advantage of that. Those are the road games you don't get very often in this league. Take advantage.
There will be more people in Gallagher-Iba on Friday night than there will be Saturday. Friday night they've got wrestling. And there'll be, it won't
might be a lot more.
Maybe like 4 or 5 times as many people.
All right, last thing.
Is this the bonus special?
It's a little bonus.
Okay.
I haven't got this in depth yet, but I thought this one jumped out. Kind of led me down a rabbit hole. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Along with watching the pick and roll, the isolation, the getting to the rim, shots from the top of the key for 3, watch this. Here's a spot. Here's a specific spot on the floor to keep an eye on. That'd be the right baseline. When West Virginia has the ball, watch the right baseline.
Okay.
Teams are shooting 50% from the right baseline mid-range against Oklahoma State.
Short right corner.
Outside the lane, but in front of the 3. Okay. Outside the lane, outside the right block, up to the 3-point line, shooting 50%.
Angle right, 15 feet.
Decent sample size now is why I'm bringing it up now. 50% from that spot. And 42% on right corner threes. That right side, that right corridor, if
That's
you will,
the money.
has been very effective against Oklahoma State. But here's the bad news.
Oh, jeez.
For West Virginia, those are the 2 worst zones by shooting percentage on the entire floor. I thought I found a key. Was getting ready to text over to Josh. Said, I got something here for. I think it's key to the game. West Virginia has not performed well from that side. Speaking of Raekwon battle, Raekwon on the left side, you normally see him go to the left more often on these shots. He's 8 of 14 from that zone. Corridor, mid-range, and corner 3 from the left, 8 of 14, but just 0 of 6 from the right. So he's been better from the left. Seth Wilson has hit a few threes from the right corner.
Right.
So maybe he can get cranked up. Farrakhan likes the right baseline mid-range. We talked about Noah. Keep an eye on Farrakhan. He likes that area. It's his second favorite spot on the floor in terms of shots taken, percentage of shots taken, but he hasn't got many to fall from that area. So, again, Farrakhan's a guy to watch. He likes to get to that mid-range too on the right baseline. He just hasn't got him going yet. Is this a game where he can get those to fall? Does that mean anything? Is that causation, correlation? To give a little Kirchhoff since he's not here today?
Right.
But watch that right baseline corridor out to 3-point land. See if West Virginia can exploit it.
We'll keep our eyes on that. If they were to do a shot chart back when you played, where would your hot spot have been? Position?
Top of the key 3, straight on, or wings.
Wing. You're a wing, top of the key guy.
Yeah.
What about corners?
I didn't get in the corner much because I was a point guard, so I stayed up top more.
I think
we should have run some more offensive sets for me to get me open for more shots, but it's neither here nor there.
No, there's no question. No question about that. None whatsoever.
So I checked the numbers. We'll just go right to the numbers.
Spreads on Stats has been brought to us by the Conley CPA Group. Complete public accounting service and consultation. Value beyond the numbers is what they bring to you. And one of the things we like here is that they can do remote accounting for your business, and they also offer remote CFO services. That'd be your certified financial dude. That's what CFO stands for.
Or dudette.
Or dudette. CFO, Certified Financial Dudette. It's Conley CPA Group. All right, so just a reminder, in case you haven't noticed yet, Kirchhoff isn't here.
By the way, if you would, keep your phone on with you Saturday while you're calling the game, because if there's a right baseline hit, I'm texting you.
It stays on.
Okay.
I flip it over, though, so I don't.
You got things going on. You can't be distracted.
So I don't look at it, but I will, once in a while, I will turn it just to see if you hit me with any wisdom bombs during the course of the game. When Hoppy comes back up from Charleston, he'll be stopping at Go-Mart today. Does it every time. Stops at the Flatwoods one. That's the one coming up on 79. Same location for him, but the same style and comfort available to you at Go-Marts across the state and beyond. Fresh brewed Go-Mart coffee, toasty and warm during this winter season. You can fuel up and a whole lot more. Getting ready for, won't be long, trout season, and you can go into the waters this season with that Fly Rod Slim Jim that they sell at Go-Mart. Check it out. The fish aren't biting, you can just bite into your Slim Jim, and off you go. It's a good day. Go for Go-Mart, go for good times, and get that rewards card ASAP. Hey, a couple of notes. It's Thursday, the 25th of January, as we record. That means there's only 2 days left to the availability of our popcorn for Valentine's. As you know, we had a special limited run. You knew that, right?
Yes.
Okay. That stops Saturday. If you want it for Valentine's Day, your order needs to be in at episode800.com. For Valentine's Day Velvet Delight, it is fantastic. I guarantee you will like it. If you don't like it, then your taste buds don't work. But I will say this. Once this is done, this was a limited run. It's not going to come up. Like, I'm not going to be here in April or May, June, July. It goes away for you. They put it under lock and key.
Oh, it does? This is a limited run. This is truly a limited run of this flavor.
It's not coming back. However, Mountaineer Munch that got gobbled up at Christmas is still available on the website at episode800.com. But the Valentine's strawberry, vanilla, little baby marshmallows, little
white chocolate drizzle.
White chocolate drizzle.
That's so. How long?
Saturday.
I wasn't really listening to you. Now I am because I want to get some more.
27th of January, this Saturday. Right. And then as long as you do that, you have it in your hands before Valentine's Day.
They're both really good. I might have this. This is a major upset at what I'm about to say. Because I'm such a chocolate peanut butter guy.
Right.
Might have liked this Valentine's flavor better. Now I'm a big strawberry guy. I thought this was outstanding.
No, I'm really, really happy. Really, really happy with the taste of everything that we've done so far. Really. It is time for textual healing. Bring me your pain. Bring me your pain, and we will heal it for you. That's just who we are. When you get that feeling, you get textual healing. 304-404-4083, 304-404-4083. Start off with this one. Coach will be here Monday. He'll be back.
I think so.
Well, he's had a wild week in that legislature. See some of the stuff coming through there?
Yeah.
Yellow. Texter says...
Some of those folks might need some healing.
Well, yeah, here's to all the people down in Charleston. You all need some feeling. You need healing. All right, here we go. This is titled... This is relatively lengthy, but our committee of the whole said that it's good enough to read because it's pretty good. It's entitled "My Don Nehlen Story," and it begins with Mark Plants played football for West Virginia when Don Nehlen was coach. My daughter married Mark's brother. Most West Virginia fans love Don. I'm one of those. On a normal day back in 2008. My phone rings, call from Plant saying, would you be willing to drive Coach Nehlen from Morgantown to Charleston with a return back to Morgantown? I said, is this a joke? He said, no. Mark explains he's running for office in Charleston, requested Coach Nehlen support him at a meeting. Coach doesn't like to drive at night. Mark needs someone to bring him down to Charleston. After recovering from the shock, I told Mark I'd be honored. I contacted the coach, made the arrangements. We had a wonderful conversation for the 2.5-hour trip down to Charleston. Coach responded to all of my questions, shared many wonderful memories of his coaching at West Virginia. And at the meeting of Mark's friends in Charleston, he made personal, encouraging comments of Mark's character. Coach made a priority to speak to all who were present, and after handling that task, we headed back to Morgantown, and I continued to hear more of Coach's stories. I told him how honored I was to be the designated driver. This was all before Uber. That would have never happened if there was Uber. We parted, and I don't believe I slept very much that night. What a memory. Fast forward, it says, an unspecified period of time. My phone rings. Someone's calling to request me to drive Nehlen to Beckley for an FCA banquet. It had to be a joke. No, it was for real. I was amazed. I quickly agreed, made arrangements to take him to Beckley. Coach gave me more interesting stories. I was concerned I'd ask the same questions. First trip. If I did, he overlooked my enthusiasm, seemed to enjoy sharing the story after story. So even though I admired Coach from a distance before that first trip, I found out during those trips what a genuine person he really is. I sometimes wonder if those trips are only a dream, but they really happen to a faithful West Virginia fan. And that is a story that was shared by Donald Satterfield, who lives in Canton, Georgia, and his dad is getting ready to celebrate birthday number 80 on February the 4th.
Awesome.
Isn't that fantastic?
Happy early birthday.
So happy early birthday to you. What a wonderful milestone, turning 80. And we certainly appreciate it and love those Nehlen stories. But to be quite honest with you, I'm not surprised because that's who Donnie N is. I mean, that's kind of who the dude is. Congratulations to you. Texter, good morning, gentlemen. Just wanted to share a picture of my creations from the weekend. My husband, a P1 listener, reminded me of Tony's bread-making tutorial. So while the snow was flying in Tucker County over the weekend, my kitchen was warm and toasty. One loaf just as the master instructed. My husband even stood by, adding in these little noises as Tony did, in hopes of a similar product. The second, and my favorite, a nut oat concoction. I threw that together for my pantry. Anyway, thanks a bunch, Tony. We were able to enjoy some delicious breads while watching a memorable victory over Kansas. P.S. Any other basketball coach would have been teed up running on the floor like that. Hashtag not a Bill Self fan. Go Mountaineers. Signed by Angie from Parsons, and she shared those pics of her bread.
How's it look? Good?
I think it's fantastic.
She nailed it?
She hit it. Yeah, I'd love to do that. Yeah, I'd like to teach a class. I think we get like a 3-guys class. I'll make bread for them. And I sent her, look what I made last week, Angie. Puts on his pictures. So I tried to represent and make this bread that they make in Florence, Italy, called, I'm going to say it wrong, scicciata, which is kind of a cousin of focaccia. Focaccia. Anyway, and then I made focaccia. That's focaccia picture there. I was all right with it. I didn't get the rise I needed on the flatbread, but the sandwiches were really good.
Really good.
Made a pistachio. Made a pistachio pretzel, pistachio spread with those.
Huh.
Yeah.
Ran out early. Didn't make it in here, I guess.
Bread. I didn't feel good enough with the bread to share it. Question. Texter is asking for an explanation. We look like a Final Four team against Kansas, and we get our ass handed to us against UCF. Was it a matchup problem, lack of effort, lack of preparation, quick turnaround with a road trip, or are we just not that good? Senator?
Oh, it's a lot of things. I do think we make the mistake offense, why I bring it up so much. You just can't assume one performance picked up and moved to the next week, good or bad. Just because it was bad one week doesn't mean the next one's going to be bad. And yeah, it's matchups a lot. That's why part of why we do these numbers isn't just to have a discussion here about numbers. It's because that's what you have to look at. Matchups are different. If you listen to the preview episode of UCF, you heard this was going to be a tough matchup for West Virginia by what they wanted you to do. We recapped that in the beginning. So that was part of it as well. Now, I do think, to your point, the mental part of Saturday, massive. There's some matchup things, but part of this is going to be a mental approach. Are you ready to play? Are you tired of it? You want to go on the road and get a win? Let's see that.
Texter. Hey, 3 guys. This is from after the UCF meltdown. I'm just curious what you guys think or have to say about players just disappearing on the court from time to time. There will be times a certain player played really well, then just disappears, and tonight felt like everyone disappeared except for JoJo. Curious about what you guys have to say. Thanks, Cooper from Morgantown. Well, consistency is the key to success, and I think I understand what you're saying. And to me, that UCF game was just the inability of the team to mentally adjust to the way that it was being called. Just took them out.
The other part of that, confidence is so massive in life, one, but in sports, two. And for shooters, I'm not sure there's anything more important than confidence. If you hit your first couple of shots, it can change your whole mindset. Quite frankly, if you're hot in warm-ups, it can change your whole mindset. And also the reverse is true. If you're in a gym and for some reason you just happen to be missing, it's not uncommon to let that sneak into your, I don't like shooting here. I'm not shooting very well here. Mm-hmm. But the reverse is true. JoJo Harris hits a couple shots. What's he say? This is my night. Give me the ball. He's hunting shots now rather than getting it and hesitating. That sometimes happens when you've been cold or not getting enough reps. So confidence. You can't see it. You can't touch it. But that's a massive part for shooters.
Professor Vinny, realistically, what should the expectations be for the West Virginia basketball team for the remainder of the schedule? You want me to do that?
Go ahead. No.
Just get better. That's all. That's a realistic expectation. Try to get better every single time you go out. And when it's done with, you look and see where you are.
And compete. Go compete each night.
Yeah, that's it. Just get better and compete. See what this team looks like finally when they get the full roster healthy. And it's still probably going to be a couple weeks before Jesse Edwards gets back and is fully healthy. Now, he might play Saturday, but until he gets like fully, it's probably another 2 weeks. Hey, 3 guys, sometimes 2 guys. Brad, are there stats about bully ball? The deal with West Virginia, they're soft, and when a team gets physical, we do not respond well. It appeared the officials were not going to stop the hand bumping of UCF, so they just shoved us all over. Do you believe this is a factor? Just wondered. There's probably not an analytic for physicality, is there?
No, I don't have one of those. You do have to respond to how it's being called. Now, West Virginia against Drexel and against Kansas, those were physical basketball games that West Virginia was able to win.
And Ohio State.
And Ohio State was a super physical game, you're right, that you almost won. So there's been times when West Virginia's been able to fight and bully back. Saturday or Tuesday night. When did they play? Tuesday? Tuesday night was not one of those.
Texter ran into a former, seldom mentioned Mountaineer football player up in Wheeling. A guy comes up next to my locker. I turn around, tall guy, smile on his face. We chatted up. Says he played football for West Virginia and the Steelers. I asked for his name. He responds, J.D. Woods. Talked like I wouldn't know who he was, but of course I did. Nice person, as you'll meet. Literally personifies a positive attitude. He told me to message him on Facebook and we get lunch sometime. I definitely didn't have Meet J.D. Woods on my Tuesday bingo card. Signed by Steven. J.D. had a nice career at West Virginia.
He did.
Played in 38 games, caught 86 balls, 909 yards in receiving, 5 touchdowns, long 50. I looked him up. Certainly remember him. He was long. Hey, 3 guys, have you learned why Creasa and a Cook have the wrong last names on their jerseys? I got half of it. Creasa, because he's a big fan of Steve Kerr, has Kerr in honor of Steve Kerr.
Which made a lot of sense when he was at Arizona.
Yeah, and that's his first name. So as for a Cook, I don't know. That'll be another project of mine before the season's over. Texter, I'll keep this short. Picture this. 3 Guys Pizza. Kirchevale and Pizza. Effort that. Signed by Bob and Culloden. We already did that. Right? When we were down there in Ronceverte, they were making those pizzas, and there was Kirchevale there.
Yeah.
But to do pizza like we're doing the popcorn and the coffee and things like that, you can't. It's just because the last thing we're going to do is make frozen pizza and send it. We want those solid staples that can transport, right? Popcorn, coffee.
Sure. Easy to transport.
Yeah. Hearing some word, I haven't got this confirmed yet. And normally we do not do anything on this program unless it's 100% confirmed, as you probably know if you're a regular. We get everything confirmed. Our coffee, that might be available in the not-too-distant future at the Kroger.
Ooh, efforting?
Mm-hmm.
Rusty? By the way, I've been drinking it throughout the show. Got some with me.
Drinking?
Yeah, every day.
I start every morning with it. Available at episode800.com, Game Day Grind. Texter, 3 guys, I was able to sit in the Kansas section during the game behind their bench. During that time, I was able to try out some of our home game thanks for having us slogans to the assistant athletic director of Kansas and others. Oh, boy, that was great.
Oh, jeez.
So
I'm sure they were thrilled with those.
I'm here to confirm for the wintertime, use thanks for coming, be careful out there is a perfect fit. Football season, it's a good fit. Adding, watch out for the deer. 3 guys.
Oh, here we go.
Growing up in Wheeling, we always said, Ahia. And the city that's across the river, Bellaire, we pronounce that Blair, Ahia. He said, run it all together as if it's all one word. Where are you from? Blair, Ahia.
That was in response to last episode.
People
Hoppy asked where
Ahia came from.
Right?
And this person grew up in Wheeling, and he said that's what the people in Wheeling say. They say, where are you from? From Ahia. And then right across the river, Blair. Where are you from? Blair, Ahia. It is, we'll just leave it at that. there is quite a difference in speech from the top of the state to the bottom of the state, isn't there?
Yes.
I mean, that's only 3.5. Well, it's not 3.5. It's 4.5, 5 hours from the top to the bottom. If you're at the tip of the northern panhandle down to the border of Virginia, there is quite a difference. You got that heavy Pittsburgh ease, Ahia, Blair, and that Blair, right? That whole Yins thing, it just completely. I say Jane Lou has always been the stopping point for that. You cross over in Jane Lou, the dialect changes. And you get more of a southern.
You think that's the spot?
Right there.
Used to be a big cell phone switchover spot, too.
Used to be?
Well, I haven't driven there much.
You got a better chance of winning the lottery than getting a phone call when you go by Jane Lou exit. I call that the Bermuda Triangle of cell phones.
There were a lot of times I'd be driving to Charleston on the phone, and I'd say, hold on, I'll call you back, about to drop signal here.
Jane Lou.
Yeah.
Jane Lou. Who knew? Texter, and I'm going to read this the way that it's written. 3 guys, while driving across Indiana and Ahia today, I was thinking about Mountaineer basketball coaching situation. This may look foolish after UCF, but I think Coach Eiler deserves at least 2 more years for a couple of reasons. They've done a tremendous job given the hand they were dealt, and they have a team that plays hard in every game except Houston. They don't quit. Any new coach that comes in will not only have to replace those players who lost their eligibility, expiration, graduation, but also that might enter the portal because they feel the coaches were not treated fairly. And that new coach will be starting recruiting late. I don't care if it's Coach K or whoever, they're not coming out of retirement, and next year would be slim pickings. If they can't do it after 2 or 3, then yes, they should be gone, but they should be given a legitimate chance. Signed by Frank in Clarksburg. He's a truck driver. That's why he was going through Indiana and Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to a coach this week, and they said because of the transfer portal nowadays, athletic directors will now fire coaches quicker than they used to, because in the past, one of the fears they had was that it would take too many years to rebuild a program. But now because of the portal, they think there'll be more. Maybe we can just fill it up in the portal.
DePaul with the first in-season coaching change came up this week.
So if you have the money and you say, hey, we're going to be able to get enough players off the portal, do it. 3 guys. Rob in Atlanta here, proud owner of the planet's last known can of Kirchevale. Oh, my. I've been waiting for just the right time to consume it. This particular can has had a full life. You see, this can was presented to me by another one of your loyal listeners. You know her as MJ in Savannah. I usually call her Mom. After her last visit to West Virginia for the Okie State game in October, she was my mule and smuggled a couple of 4-packs across state lines, which she presented to me when I visited at Thanksgiving. After 10 months or so, I'm finally able to see what all this fuss was about. That's a damn good beer. Anyway, in my haste to leave, I left a couple of cans behind, but we were soon reunited when we all made our way to Charlotte for the Duke's Mayo Bowl. This can was with me for a thrilling Baylor victory over Thanksgiving weekend, the bowl victory, and now a very nice hoops win over KU. I thought perhaps this beer deserved better, but I think I'll just crush it today. A random Monday. And if WVU Sports takes a turn for the worse, blame it on the Kirchevale curse. Yeah.
Well, good. Glad he got some.
Tough to get. Texter, 3 guys are the kings of merch. Dr. Dave here in Bethesda, Maryland. Any possibility of getting the Turtles back on the schedule in hoops and or football? Keep up the good times. Keep the good times coming. We used to work there. What do you think?
I'd like that to be back in. I'd like to play him in basketball. You wouldn't?
I
would like that game.
I have no problem playing them.
Yeah, that helps your power rating, play an ACC team.
You don't need help in your power rating.
You didn't even catch it. I said ACC team. I was hoping I could catch it.
Yeah, you don't need. So you want to play Pitt, and then you're going to see some Power Fives in your Thanksgiving tournament. You could probably do it.
Yeah, you could. There's plenty of space there. I like
you
that.
Could probably.
I like that as a non-con.
Yeah. Texter, a football related. Gary Williams. He's the one that put the kibosh on it.
Yeah, he ain't been there a while. You can probably go ahead and reach out.
Well, I know he hasn't been there. I'm just saying that's why the thing ended. He didn't want anything to do with it. Hey, three guys, a football-related question. With many schools putting messages on the back of their helmets, any chance that the word efforting could be the Mountaineers' message? I would say this to that. It's not as crazy as you think. Not as crazy as you think. And as you well know, this being, you've sold tens of millions of dollars in that department, right? If you give them enough money and you say, we want the word efforting on the back of the helmet, the word efforting would be back on the helmet. What do you think that number would be?
It would be a big number.
I understand. What do you think the number is?
I don't know.
Well, you do have an idea.
I don't.
It's more than $50. It's less than $10 million. Okay. It's less than $5 million.
There you go.
It's probably, if you came to WV and said, I'm going to give you $750, get it?
$750,000?
Yeah.
If I were them, I'd take that in a heartbeat.
And would that be the
Did you see on the side of the helmet or the back of the helmet?
The back piece where the pad
If
is.
he offered $750, I'd be saying, here's the contract.
So you did have a number in your head. Said you didn't know. Hello, fellas. It's been a while since I texted. I wanted to tell you about my funny Christmas gift exchange. I exchanged gifts with three of my friends, one of whom, Grant, is also a loyal Three Guys listener. Earlier this year, I had an idea of getting him an efforting t-shirt off of your site, as I thought he wouldn't think about getting a gift from there for someone else. So we're exchanging gifts. He opens mine, told me how great it was, and all the while having a funny smirk on his face, which I didn't really pay attention to. I opened my gift from him, and he had a smirk. I opened it up. I realized the reason. He also went to episode 800 and bought me the same exact efforting t-shirt. Definitely a Three Guys Christmas. Thanks again for all you guys do for us fans. Since there won't be an episode 800, here's number 799. Signed, not Hoppy, How, or Hugs in High Point. Thank you.
Thank you.
Texter, I don't give two craps about the executive associate athletic director at Oklahoma or the statements made by said person. If Oklahoma thinks they can get out of a generational curse by sending out a mid-level employee to make a statement, they're sadly mistaken. Tony slightly misread my initial text. The only way for this curse to be undone is through an animal sacrifice at the 50-yard line on Friday the 13th. Good luck, Sooners. The curse is still in place. Signed by J.D. from the Southern Coalfields. That's pretty harsh.
I will say, though, one point of clarification. I think if you have executive and associate, you're more than mid-level. I think you put both together, relatively new development in the field, but you got a couple on there. Executive associate, executive senior, so now you're even more high level.
There's a thing called an executive senior associate?
I think so. I think there's a lot of those out there.
Those are great.
So
here, I'm going to go something. You pointed out executive associate. Here's my favorite part of that whole sentence, the first sentence. I don't give two craps about, like, how did two craps become like a standard in that?
Well, I think JD was just trying to, I don't give a crap, is more
So
traditional phrase.
yeah.
I think he wanted to emphasize he definitely didn't give one. He didn't give two.
But
That's just my interpretation.
You ever notice that people never go to 3 or 4? That would be like
Haven't yet. They may. I mean, JD may. He just took it to 2.
level 2. Like a level 1 NCAA violation, he took it to a level 2.
He just wanted to make sure the point got through.
Scope Senator and over under a half on Hoppy. This is Brian in Williamstown. I wanted to say great job by the men against Kansas. Just wow. Listening to Tony talk about Go-Mart and all the goodies you can buy. Have any of you guys ever been to the Go-Mart in Marietta, Ohio? They got a deli counter full of daily made fried goods, sides, and all the fixings. They've also got their own homemade pepperoni rolls. They're working on becoming the next Sheets or Buc-ee's, apparently. Thanks, gents. Look forward to the rest of the season and seeing how far the men can take a run. Texter. There's Jim from Charleston. Just listened to your last podcast where you discussed the pronunciation, oh boy, here we go, of Lucado.
Here we go.
My Sunday school class has viewed videos from the author Max Lucado. Emphasis on the K. But here in Charleston, there's a Lucado Drive, and the locals pronounce it Luckadoo.
Oh my gosh, that's totally different. What do they say in Charleston?
This guy says Luckadoo.
Luckadoo.
That's what he said.
What was the first version?
Lucado.
Spelled the same?
Yep.
Just one A in that?
Yeah.
One O?
Mm-hmm.
Not together either.
Nope.
Huh.
And then he goes on to say, regarding Ohio, I had a coworker who pronounced Ohio like a yo-yo. Ohio, yo-yo, whatever. Anyway, I enjoy both the sports part of your show and when you guys run off the rails.
As we just did.
Texter, long time, first time, Matt in Maidesville, formerly. Now I live in Cross Lanes. This past weekend, I had the pleasure of attending a swim meet over at the WVU Aquatic Center.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, what a beautiful facility. Got there early enough to watch the Mountaineers wrap up their swim practice. Truly impressive. Well, we had tickets to the basketball game, but with the weather, the meet start was delayed, meaning the events my daughter was swimming in got pushed back. So I had to make the choice to sell our tickets. As I placed the tickets for sale, I told my wife, you watch. We're going to pull off an upset. Well, the meet finally ended, so we decided to head to my childhood favorite restaurant, the old Peking House.
Oh, yeah.
Here in Morgantown.
Just had it the other night.
Oh, did you?
Mm-hmm.
We arrived. The game was early in the second half. We're eating dinner. We had the game on our phone when the waitress invited us to come over to the bar, watch it with her. Since we were the only customers, the rest of the staff joined us. It was truly a special Mountaineer moment. My family, the staff, a few more customers walked in. Instead of sitting down, we all crowded around the bar. There's a picture right there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The phone was ringing. The staff would take an order. Over the cheers of all of us watching the Mountaineers, shocked the nation. It was an elite dining experience. A huge shout out to Kurt, who's always treated my family like his own. He's the owner there.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I'm including a picture of my daughter at the swim meet and one of her locked in on the game at the Peking House. Thanks for all you do.
This is a beautiful facility. I have a nephew that swims over there. He's probably at that same swim meet. Mason.
At the Peking House?
No, they don't swim at the Peking House, at the Aquatic Center.
Oh, yeah, that's a nice facility.
A nice facility.
Texter, I've been efforting to get my daughter a WVU swim cap. They're harder to find than a Kercheval. If y'all have a line where I could buy one, it'd be appreciated. Just goes to show you.
They don't sell those there at that swimming. That'd be a nice little revenue opportunity.
Why wouldn't they?
Probably not staffing.
Send a note to Ren. Get some bathing caps in there. Make a note. Texter says, looks like Raekwon Battle just had a Stevenson hold my blank moment. Can't help the team in the locker room. I hope he doesn't have the same head case problems Eric had. He needs to learn from it, flush it, go drop 50 on the Cowboys.
Well, if there's a Stevenson comparison, I'll take the bounce back coming from Raekwon then.
Yeah.
You talk about a dude that said, okay, oh, is that right? Okay, got it. Understood, got it. I'll handle it from here.
Well, Eric learned you don't.
Coach Stevenson did that.
Eric learned you don't complain about calls.
He didn't complain about calls. He just went and started filling it.
Oh, I understand. I remember, but I'm just saying he learned. Don't complain. The next guy wants me to yell in the background. Texter. I'm not going to do that. Just my voice hurts.
You want to save your voice?
Yeah, my voice hurts. Hey, two guys, and maybe Hoppy. I wanted to get your takes on what you thought was more surprising. The Mountaineers beating Kansas or Hoppy successfully sliding down that fire pole? Kercheval's gutsy. He's gutsy. He doesn't back away.
Not afraid. And still, as we said, advanced age, still in tremendous shape.
Why do you always have to say advanced age? That's not fair. That's unfair.
Moves well. Walks at a brisk pace still.
Picture health. Fine looking man. Texter. P.S. Thanks for signing my hat Saturday, by the way. Shout out to the camera guy for the picture. I heard he's a high-dollar photographer on the side. Signed by Devin in Goshen Road.
Thank you, Devin. We're pretty good to see you.
Ren took his.
He did.
Ren made the picture.
Very nice of Ren. It wasn't asked. Saw you struggling with the selfie. Wasn't going well. Ren stepped in and said, give it to me. I'll take that for you.
He did do that.
It was great.
Yeah. That is a high-priced camera, man.
So thanks, Devin.
Mike in Parkersburg. Scope, Spreads, and Hoppy to the third. While I wasn't seriously expecting to win Tuesday, I definitely was expecting a much better performance than that clown show we had in Orlando. Not that the guys didn't play hard, but the game plan, or at least its execution, was definitely subpar. West Virginia looked seriously lost the whole game, especially in the first half, both sides of the ball. giving up multiple second, third, and sometimes fourth chance points on the boards, turning it over left and right. Very disappointing. The officiating, certainly questionable. UCF was basically able to hack and bulldoze West Virginia without a foul. But that definitely wasn't the reason. My biggest question is, Josh said before the game in your interview that Edwards was available in an emergency. Well, what exactly constitutes an emergency? West Virginia at the time, 7-11, 2-3 in the Big 12, down by 15 points in the first half, unable to block out, unable to get any effective play in the paint. I mean, he's apparently been cleared to play by team doctors. He's been practicing since last Friday, dressed. Why is Josh holding him back for a big run? The CBI? Sorry for the rant. As always, I love the podcast and all you guys do. So, what would be an emergency? The emergency the other night was if Pat Sumnick and a cook fouled out. That would have been the emergency. He simply's not ready. I mean, I watched him practice. His wrist isn't there yet. He's not using his wrist to its full function and would be in a situation where he could re-injure himself. It's not healthy enough yet. And when he does get out there, obviously, you have another 4 or 5 days for movement and things like that. He won't play a ton, and he won't be 100%, but he just wasn't ready. Wasn't ready. And I think that's the thought, that they'd rather have him for multiple games rather than putting him out there against UCF and one of those dudes giving him a chop, and then he's gone for the year. I got no problem with that whatsoever. Wasn't ready. Wasn't going to do any better than what they had out there. Texter, scopes, stats, sometimes hoppy. My nephew came up with the rule of 70 10 or more years ago. This is more appropriate since a lot of games never make it to 80 points. This not only applies to WVU, but all of D1 college basketball. A great majority of the time, first team to 70 points wins. Check it out. Does not apply to overtime games. Thanks for the many hours of great content. Signed by Jim in Monongah. So I looked that up. Wasn't familiar with it. And there, in fact, has been academic study on that. And actually, the number is 71. It's called the Rule of 71. First team in Division I basketball to reach 71 points has at least a 90.9%, 91% chance of being the eventual winner. And that could fluctuate as high as 95%. So that's done. You look it up, Rule of 71. I did. Big academic research paper on it. You know, you like numbers. You should take a look at it. Why are you looking at me like that? You ever heard of it?
No.
So the Olashucks up there in the Northern Panhandle, they think it's 80. Mom goes to the bathroom when one team gets 80. She could probably back it down to 71.
Well, if your numbers are in fact accurate, then 80 is definitely
Oh, yeah.
going to be higher than that.
Donna would know that.
Yeah, of course.
Steve from Vegas. If Ren Baker is tasked with finding a new coach at the end of the season, I assume he'll want to hire someone that's been successful and brings an exciting brand to the table. Oh, snap. He already made the hire. His name is Mark Kellogg. Do you know if a Power 5 school has ever transitioned to a women's coach to the men's before? I realize there's a different talent skill set, but I believe that Kellogg's style of aggressive, hard-nosed pressing defense, coupled with his offensive spacing and ball movements, a kind of exciting brand that would be successful, a.k.a. Shaka Smart style, and would fill up the Coliseum just about every game. Thanks for all you do. Help making a Mountaineer transplant feel like he's back home. I don't know of any examples of that happening, do you? I mean, Mike Carey went from man's basketball to women's basketball.
Yes.
But I've never heard of a guy going from women to men.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I've asked about that in the past because your boy used to get really pissed off, Gino, right? When people would say, when are you going to go coach men? And he'd get upset by that.
Yeah, he did. He did all right.
He did. And he said, what are you talking about? This is what I do.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's the same game, but it's not the same game. And Yeah, that's why it doesn't happen. Not saying it can't, but I'm just saying that different world, man.
Mark doing just fine on his side of things.
He got to get the Cyclones this weekend.
Yeah, fun one coming up Saturday against Iowa State. Little revenge game.
You going over?
I think we might be in attendance for that one. Yes, have our own game Saturday, assuming that gets done in a timely fashion. I think we can slide over and do both.
Gentlemen, I almost always agree with Tony's take on the Mountaineers, but I wholeheartedly disagree that Oklahoma playing country roads after last week's game was over the line or, as he said, Harry High School. Part of what makes college sports what we all love is poking fun at one another, as seen with our fans' pride in singing Sweet Caroline and giving a horns down. How is what OU did any different? I took what the Sooners marketing team did as a sign of respect. If they took time to pick on us, it means they respect us. You don't usually troll a school you don't feel is beneath you. Signed by Dana in Houston.
I don't think that was really from Dana in Houston, though.
Possibility. That's a big city. Could be more than one. Chris in South Carolina just watched the world champs get bullied in Orlando. West Virginia needs to be more aggressive, less finesse, especially going to the rim. But 25 free throws to 10? I saw a ridiculous chest bump, dry hump, as Slazinski drove across the lane. I saw a shoulder thrown into Farrakhan's chin on a pick and roll that was reviewed for flagrant, not even called a foul. Then Farrakhan gets a layup blocked by a guy with a forearm across his back, who then lands on Noah, and play goes on. When those two ESPN Plus announcers say on multiple occasions, that might have been a foul, I know it's just not me, signed by Chris in South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
The ESPN announcer, the play-by-play announcer on that game, Pete, he loves you.
Loves who?
You.
Me.
Uh-huh. I went over and talked to him because he had introduced himself a season or two ago. He says, guys, he said, man, I love three guys. I said, excuse me? He said,
is this for real? Is this confirmed?
I forgot to tell you this. He goes, love it. I said, what are you talking about? He goes, that's how I will do my preparation.
Game prep, okay.
Game prep. I listen, he goes, Brad gives me Brad with those numbers. He goes, I've never heard those numbers before. Then I gave him the truth.
Now, this is the guy on ESPN?
Pete. Great guy.
Great, awesome.
Great guy. Yeah, so he locks in on three guys.
Good. Thanks, Pete. Appreciate you listening.
Good dude.
Awesome.
Morning news anchor in Waco.
Oh, is that right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Great guy. Good dude.
Excellent. Didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we'll see him at an upcoming game if he has any more.
Yeah, he could get us again. Texter, love the podcast and so glad to have that West Virginia connection. I'm appreciative for the opportunity to opine, vent, and connect. Elated over the Kansas win, infuriated over the officials at UCF, not for what they called, but for what they didn't. It was the bullies against the disciplined team, and the refs let it happen. Lucky there weren't more injuries. And I'm reflecting on the Kansas win. I was thinking of how lucky West Virginia is to have Josh Eilert as the overseer of these young men. He's so much more than a coach. It's obvious how much compassion he has for them individually as players. It's reflected by their camaraderie with each other and their efforting on the floor. He does not compromise the well-being of an athlete at the expense of winning or losing a game. He shares his responsibility for a loss and is very generous with his praise for the team. He's smart, gracious, humble, great role model. So, as one of your commercial ventures, how about a T-shirt with something like the Eilert effect emblazoned across the front? I do love the podcast. I do love the coach. Thank you, signed by MJ in Savannah.
MJ made an appearance earlier, right? We had a reference to MJ.
She's all over the show.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I think we should do a World Champs T-shirt. Right?
I could see that.
Just put two words on the front. World Champions.
I like that.
And three guys on the sleeve.
I like it.
World Champions.
Merchandise team listening. They'll effort.
So I just think because that's a conversation starter, right? Is that what T-shirts are supposed to be?
Yes.
You just put World Champions on it.
And if you know, you know, is part of the deal with this podcast, right? So that's one of those T-shirts.
Yeah.
If you know, you know.
I've told how the World Champion thing came around, right? Dale Miller. He used to throw it in there. He'd just throw it in there. Hey, the St. Louis baseball Cardinals, man, birds on the bat, world champion Cardinals. Then one day he hit me with world champion Mountaineers, and I went like, "Oh, I love that. I'm stealing it." Texter. Maybe because West Virginia is not very physical, but I don't remember college basketball quite this physical, especially on the perimeter. Texter. I was on YouTube's the other day watching some of the MSN replay of the 1987 West Virginia-Boston College football game. Tom Mees was doing the play-by-play with Tony doing the color. I was wondering what memories Tony has working with Tom. Tom was a wonderful guy. He was a fantastic guy, unbelievably hardworking. He used to do the 2 a.m. Sports Center on Friday nights into Saturday morning, would finish Sports Center, would drive from Bristol to the Hartford Airport. It'd be Hartford Airport, right?
Yeah, yes.
Hartford Airport, Bradley
International.
Bradley International, back when you had airplanes that would fly direct, and he would go Hartford to Pittsburgh, rent a car, and drive down here. Now think about that. So you get like the 7:30, 8 o'clock flight out of Hartford. He'd be down here about 9:30. Game would go like at noon, and he'd do the Mountaineer game.
Yeah, that's a grind.
He was a great guy. Best memory I have of him, and we did games for a couple of years, 87 Syracuse, West Virginia game up there. It was one of those Syracuse snows that literally does not stop for 24 plus hours. And we sat, and it was a night game, and we sat at the Marriott there at Carrier Circle in a room, and we just watched football all day long and just had a ton of fun. Just a really good dude. And for those that don't know, he was one of the original anchors of Sports Center with Chris Berman and Bob Lee and Lou Palmer. Those were the guys. And there's a West Virginia connection to Tom Mees getting that job. Mike Parsons was on the staff at Florida State in the SID world, and Mees was an anchor in Tallahassee. And Parsons, always on the cutting edge of new stuff, said, "Hey, Tom, I read this thing. There's some kind of all 24-hour thing. Can you believe this? A 24-hour cable sports network that's going to start in Connecticut. You should send them a tape." That's how he got it.
Is that? I didn't know that story.
Absolutely true. That's why the relationship between Mike and Tom, that's why Tom was doing the West Virginia stuff. It's all about networking.
That's a name. Of a certain age, you will know Tom Mees' name immediately.
Yeah. Scope spreads Hoppy on remote location. A couple of observations. Texter, who came to Adelphia in the second half of that game last week, I believe he sat near me during the Kansas game, and we all broke into an off-key rendition of Country Roads. We stopped after management put on John Denver to make us stop singing. As three guys drive, well, it was only a matter of time before you people had started naming their private roads after you guys. I think that's right? Last time we showed a three guys drive.
Yeah. Actual road.
You guys all have reached Dale Earnhardt Drive status, so congratulations. Finally, I was at the state's capitol yesterday for GIS Mapping Day at the legislature, and look who I ran into. Oh, Hoppy, and look at that beard that Jenny's. He's got a winter beard that, will make a lumberjack nervous. Thanks, Hoppy, for rehashing the UCF game with me for a few minutes. Signed by P1 Jennings, a professional mapper. That's what he does. He makes maps.
You got a picture there with Hoppy.
Yeah. Real good. All right. That's all the damage we can do for this episode. So next week, by the time we come back, we will have for you a recap of the Oklahoma State game and getting ready for the first of two encounters with Cincinnati.
That's not easy either.
Oh, no, that's not easy. That's not going to be easy. So a lot of stuff will happen. Obviously, the Jesse Edwards availability coming into finally getting him onto the floor will be interesting to see that, right?
See him compete on Saturday.
Right.
And keep a special eye on the top of the key threes and the right baseline corridor. Let's see if any success comes in those areas.
Absolutely. Three guys brought to us by Comax Business Systems, keeping West Virginia's business data Safe, secure, and efficient for 25 years. By GoMart. Go for good times. Go for GoMart. Get that rewards card. Save on your fuel and your food. Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans, selling family fun and offering you that incredible Three Guys special on that Avalon 2385 Entertainer. Tell me you're a Three Guys listener. And spreads on stats from the Connolly CPA Group, providing value beyond the numbers. That will conclude this portion of Three Guys Before the Game, 524 episodes in. And this has been the Stillwater Showdown. For the Senator and our producer, Austin Wright, we are done. Stay well. Have a good weekend. See you.